So you're going to set up for your seated centering position. It's the 11th, so finding the less preferred cross-legged position. And just take some moments, some time with that to adjust the thighs, the inner thighs down, the outer thighs out, spreading across the sitting bones. Taking some time to adjust the shoulders to sit back in line with the hips. And then using some support for your hands to help you feel the shoulders externally rotate and the chest to lift and spread. And try to feel tall and light, but in a way that doesn't lose any connection with the floor. We want to keep a nice sense of anchoring into the floor. And from there, joining your hands together in front of the heart, sitting quietly for a few moments. Beginning to connect with your body, with your breath, with your mind. Getting quiet enough to listen for what the body wants to say this morning. And even though we move together as a class, as a group, always taking enough time here that you're really kind of settling into an understanding of how you are arriving to your practice. Maybe also listening for some sort of intention or context you want to give your practice today. Maybe it's a word, maybe it's a phrase, maybe it's an image. And when you feel connected with how you've arrived, and maybe with some sort of intention, take a moment to bow towards the heart, inviting the brain cells to descend toward the heart cells. Release your hands, gently lift your head, let your eyes come open, and welcome. So we're in a forward bending practice. If you were here Monday, we worked on the 4 major areas we can create negative space in the poses to create more spaciousness. We're going to work with those same 4 target areas, but we're going to kind of work in a different order, starting with the shoulders. I had a student request a shoulder class, and I thought that we could spend a lot of time today on the shoulders because we didn't as much on Monday. And that is a big piece of the work of forward bending. So we're going to begin just kind of getting the shoulders more open. And the first thing we're going to do is lie back on a block. So if you have a block that's bamboo, it's a little edgy and hard. So just put a blanket over it so that it's comfortable. But it's going to fit right behind your shoulder, right underneath your shoulder blades. And even if you have a foam block, you might also want to just give a little padding to it, and you'll come down onto your back. So just the one block underneath the shoulder blades. And if you find your head is kind of falling toward the crown, you might take an additional block or blanket and just give your head a little support. Your legs can be just like you're in Shavasana, so you can have the feet a little bit wider than your hips. You can have the toes turning out. Make sure that you move the buttocks away from the lumbar spine. So you might need to bend your knees and lift your butt and kind of move the flesh of the upper buttocks towards the lower buttocks. We want the lumbar spine really long. One thing about opening the chest and shoulders is we can kind of rob Peter to pay Paul, as it were. So we can shorten the lumbar as we're opening the chest, which we don't want to do. So you can start with your arms kind of low and passive. And then you're going to begin to take the arms overhead. When you feel ready, let your body talk to you. And extending the arms as completely as you can once you do have the arms overhead. So the idea is not to push the front rib cage kind of out and up. It's really to get the breastbone nice and lifted. And now we'll get a little bit more of the stretch happening in the kind of the pec area. So we're gonna take a goalpost arm position. Your elbows might touch the floor, they might not. If they don't touch the floor, it will really help you open across the chest, elongating the kind of the lateral muscles across the chest. And when we forward bend, what tends to happen is the sternum recedes into the shadows. And we want to kind of start with this pose today because this is the only part of the front body we want to keep forward momentum, the breastbone. We want to keep it in the sunlight. In just a few more moments here, you might go back to arms extended. You might experiment with grabbing your elbows. Just be where you find some good sensation, some good stretch. And now we'll come out of it, so start to move your arms lower. You're going to bend your knees. Place your feet on the floor, roll to either side to help you come off that block. And then we're going to be coming into a hands and knees position. So when we work with the shoulders, we're often simultaneously working with the chest because the shoulder action is what keeps the chest open. So we're going to come into heart chakra pose, but a little bit more modified than we sometimes do because the full pose can be bothersome. It can be too extreme, and in that case, we don't get very far. So we're going to take a modified approach today. The knees are going to be in line with the hips throughout the pose, but you're going to be using one of your arms as a rest for your forehead. So cross your right arm in front of your chest so that your forehead can touch down on that right forearm. And then your left arm is extended. So Sylvia, not a child's pose. Make sure your hips stay right above the knees. So bring it, there you go. Yep. And you can always raise the height of the head if it's too extreme for your body. You could put your forearm on a block. And if the extended arm shoulder bothers you, you can also bend that arm a little bit. We're just trying to sink the shoulder blades toward the chest. And because we're going to get to the abdomen later, bring a little bit of awareness to the abdomen, not just collapsing toward the floor, but just gently kind of scoop the abdomen up toward the back body. Again, that same idea, we don't want to just open one area to shorten another. If we're falling into the belly, the lumbar is shortened. So bring a broadness to the lower back by lifting the belly toward it. And keep allowing the exhales to drop the shoulder blades in toward the chest. Just about 5 more breaths on this side, and then we'll do about a minute on the other side. You can help yourself transition to the left forearm being your head rest. You'll cross it in front of you, and then extending the right arm as fully as you can. Consider the shoulder if you're having any sort of sensation that's negative in the shoulder. Make sure to soften the arm from that complete extension. Maybe bend the elbow a little bit. And every time you exhale, use that gravity, use that out breath to help you really find the action of shoulder blades inserting toward the front body. This is a big pose. Sometimes we don't realize till we leave how big it is. So you're gonna really try to round your spine here, scoop your belly, move your hands closer to your knees. And we're gonna come onto our stomachs. I'm just gonna angle my camera down a little bit, but come onto your stomach. There. We're gonna be extending the left arm straight out to the side, propping the right hand next to the chest. Good, so left arm out to the side, right hand next to the chest, elbow is bent. You're gonna start to roll onto your left hip side, and you might take the top leg, which is the right leg, foot to the floor. So you're turning your chest to the right, and you're inviting a shoulder opening to the left. Now, if this is bothersome to the shoulder, again, try to bend the left arm slightly so that you can, relieve that negative feeling. We don't want to have a bad reaction in the shoulder. The shoulders can be quite angry sometimes, and you have to do the less is more approach. Give some deep breaths to the shoulder, 5 breaths. We're going to start to ease onto the front side again, go slowly with the speed of presence. And then when you're back on your front side, extend the right arm out to the side. You're going to kind of tent up your left fingers and elbow is bent. You're going to, on the left side, you're going to prop up right next to the chest. You'll start to shift your weight onto the right hip side. The left leg is just really wherever it is going to help you turn the chest to the left. So you might step the foot onto the floor. You might be able to just kind of float the leg, whatever feels better. The head can rest here. And again, if you're being if it's nagging on the shoulder's not ready for it, bend the right arm a little bit. Good. And just as carefully, you're going to bring yourself out of it. Okay, let's come into a downward facing dog because I'm going to have us come to seated next, and I want you to get just a little bit of a fuller movement in your body before we sit down. So we're going to come into downward facing dog with our knees very bent and our heels really lifted. And just an emphasis on drawing the hips away from the wrists. Can you find a way to lift and spread the chest to get the chest out of that kind of concave position where it likes to go and move those shoulder blades in? Remember your heart chakra pose. And then maybe start to work toward a straighter leg, maybe not. Let your body talk to you. Don't fall into the abdomen, scoop the inner front ribs together, support the long lower back that way. Think about your ears passing through the space of the arms. Think about the ears starting to move in front of the arms. Whenever you're ready, you're going to find your way to seated. So maybe take a few more breaths here, maybe walk the heels, maybe you're ready to sit down. And when you're setting up for seated, make sure to give yourself some support so your lower back can be upright. It's not going to be rounded. Maybe a blanket, maybe 2 blankets. Some people like to use blocks to sit on. It's really your preference, what gives you the best support. You can take your dominant cross-legged position now, since we didn't do that when we centered ourselves. We're going to work with eagle arms. So before we begin, I'm going to show you. I'm going to sit sideways. Eagle arms appears like it's contracting the chest, but our work today is really going to be to emphasize how do we bring the chest forward. So don't worry about the arms yet. I'm just trying to show you. Sometimes we practice like this and we collapse that chest. Today we're going to really try to move the shoulder blades in, get the chest spread and the shoulders back. So now we'll get to the arms, and there is a modification if you're worried about that position I just showed you. So go ahead and take your arms out in front of you. Cross your right elbow over your left elbow. And then turn your palms up. For modified, you're going to grab your shoulders and you're going to be raising the elbows. For the full classical position, you'll be kind of entwining the arms and letting the right fingers find the left palm. Okay, so you're either grabbing your shoulders or your hands are connected. Okay, so before we do anything more with the upper body, take care of your seated position. Make sure your low back is long, your sitting bones are anchored. And now feel what can happen to the chest. Feel that tendency for it to pull back. Now, can you move the shoulder blades in? Now we don't have gravity helping us like we did in heart chakra pose. Can you move the shoulders themselves back? And then keep your face kind of moving front to back as well. There's a tendency for the face to magnetize into the arms here. So if it's helpful to you, close your eyes and align your skull right over your spine. You should kind of be able to sense the inner upper arms lifting toward the ceiling, the outer upper arms rotating down. You'll feel a big yawning open across the upper back between the scapula. Even under the scapula, where we get a little dusty and cobwebby, send some breath there. Keep the lumbar long as you keep the chest lifted. Just 2 more breaths, and with those last 2 inhales, float the elbows any amount higher. And then on an exhale, release the elbows slowly down. Untangle your arms and bind your hands together behind your back. Roll your shoulders back. Try to fully straighten your arms, and then see if you can extend the interlocked hands away from the low back. And as your chest feels really broad and really lifted, watch the low back. Make sure you're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. Keep the lumbar nice and long. Garudasana is eagle. So of course that's a standing balancing pose. We're just breaking apart the arm piece today. We're not going to do the leg piece. You can release your arms. We're going to do side 2. This time we're going to be crossing left elbow on top of right. Once you have that, you can turn your palms up and either grab the shoulders for modified or entwining the arms and letting the left fingers find the right palm. I think I said that wrong. It's all tangled up here. Letting the right fingers find the left palm. Good. Now, first thing to take care of is the base of the pose. And then, of course, the tendency for the shoulders to pull forward, the chest to pull back, we need to correct and equalize that. Chest forward, shoulders back. Every in-breath is an invitation for elbows to float up. Maybe closing the eyes and adjusting the face toward the back of the head, adjusting the whole skull so it's right above the spine. Keep your gaze pointed down. It's very seductive for the eyes to fly up here because energy is moving up in the body. Keep your gaze pointed down. Two more breaths, using that little in-breath to help you kind of lighten the elbows up, lift the sternum up. And then with your next exhalation, you can lower the arms, unwrap the arms, bind the hands, maybe take the less familiar interlock of your hands And again, try to fully extend the arms and then stretch the hands away from the lower back. Shoot the breastbone forward. Let the breastbone be extending away from the palms of your hands. Nice. Okay. Release your arms, shake them free if you need to. One more thing, seated. We're going to grab a strap, and you can use an open strap. So if you have a loop strap, just unfasten it. So this is a harness, and it really helps us work with the action of the shoulders. They actually sell a product, I think it's for horseback riders, to keep your posture really shoulders, back, chest forward. And this is a way to kind of imitate that product and that purpose. So what we do is we take it, try to have even length coming to each side, and you're going to take it kind of to the armpit region of your upper back. And it does kind of get irritating to have a lot of twists in the strap. So just try to do your best to kind of thread or floss the strap so you don't have those twists. You're going to throw those ends over your shoulders. Oh, forgot there was a ring on that one. I'm glad I didn't hit anything. And then the idea is to cross the strap. So we don't want to be holding the same side anymore. We're going to cross the strap kind of up by the neck, and you're going to do your best to try to find those ends behind you. Okay, so make sure you're lateral across the upper back, over the shoulders, and then there's an X if you were to see yourself. You're going to grab the straps. Okay, your palms face forward. So once you're holding the strap ends, you're going to pull. And you're going to feel that really welcome invitation. It's like someone, a good friend, we all know that feeling when someone puts their hand lightly on your upper back, and it just gives you reassurance, gives you a sense of support. You should feel that kind of right now. The strap is gently pushing there. And meanwhile, the work of the strap up here on the shoulders is getting the flesh of the arms to turn, which is a big piece of shoulder work that we don't always get because it's more subtle. So here you actually have the strap moving the flesh of the shoulders. Think about your pinkies starting to lift and your thumbs starting to kind of lower toward the floor. And again, treat the sternum kind of in resistance to the hands. So the hands are an anchor for the sternum to shoot towards the sky in kind of a diagonal line. Observe the lumbar and observe the skull as well. You don't want the skull flying forward. You don't want the lumbar shortening or the abdomen pushing. So there's a lot of focus here. We're imprinting once again. So this, this position we want to really memorize when we forward bend, which we're going to attempt right now. So at the top of the next in-breath, you'll just kind of keep all of that good space in your body. Exhale, hinging at the waist. Just angle the torso forward. Today, we do not care how deep these forward bends are. We're trying to find really nice little pockets of space to eventually put it all together one day, someday. But today is not about your deepest forward bend. It's taking these ideas and just kind of getting them embodied. Okay, so sometimes I tell people you can sit up for a moment to release that. Sometimes I tell people it's as if you're dipping your breastbone into a little pot of ink down by the floor. So we want our breastbone to be the first thing that comes down. Let's try it one more time. Take an in-breath, create space, vertical space. Exhale, hinging forward. And remember, those hands can really anchor you to shoot the breastbone forward. We have support now. We have a way to, we have something to resist against. Use your hands, pull them away, and it's going to get the breastbone even farther out of the shadows. Good. And now inhale and sit up. Wonderful. Okay, that's it for seated. We're going to come back up through downward facing dog. We're going to be coming into mountain pose. So take as many breaths in your downward facing dog, make it your own. But I do suggest you come in the same way with very bent knees, very lifted heels to really find a way to take the shoulder blades into the chest. We're not worried about hamstrings today. This is a break from hamstrings. Lynn, especially, maybe she doesn't need a break, but we're not worried about lengthening hamstrings today for forward bends. It's the other actions in the body we're going to try to address. So shoulder blades in, that means your knees can be bent, lifting your hips away from your wrists. Finding the action in the shoulders you just felt with your strap. The turning of the flesh, the lifting of the inner upper arms, the rotating down of the outer upper arms. Good. And now start to tiptoe toward the wrists. Bend your knees, use your abdomen to support your back. Come up to standing mountain Tadasana. Okay. So go back and find your strap. And you'll step on it with the strap between the arches and kind of where the heels begin. Sometimes when we work with variations on poses, such as mountain, you might need more distance between your feet just to kind of have a little more stability for support. You're going to wrap your hands in a way that there's tension on the strap with your arms extended. So you might need to kind of play with that. We want to be holding a strap that's very kind of taut. Anchor into your heels and turn your palms to face forward with the taut straps in hand. Shoulders back. Think about the flesh of the inner upper arm moving forward, the outer upper arm moving back. The sternum is lifting. And it's lifting because we have all of this support, the hands, the heels. Close your eyes. You're going to have to kind of make a little adjustment, but try not to disturb too much of these wise actions as you release the strap. Just let it drop. And see if you can maintain that sensation of turn in the arms, lift and spread in the chest. Feeling of support for the chest to keep kind of diagonally ascending. Shoulder blades keep moving from the back to the front body. Gaze is pointed down. Good. Okay, and let your eyes open. Shake free, let the limbs kind of become loose. Release the efforts, move the strap aside. Okay, last but not least with the shoulders, Uttanasana with our hands on our hips. So I do want everybody to have a hip distance position with the feet. Second toes should be lining with the heels. And then with your hands on your hips, clamp the elbows in so that they're only as wide as shoulders. For some of us, they have to be a little wider, but you're attempting to make them only as wide as shoulders. Use your thumbs to push the tailbone in. Lift and spread your chest. Come to the top of an inhale. Exhale halfway forward. You might not come all the way halfway. You might need to bend your knees. But think about the little pot of ink and your breastbone trying to dip into that little pot of ink. So bend the knees as much as you need to. Keep the elbows clamping. Scoop the abdomen toward the back body. Inhale, lengthen through the crown of the head to stand up. Okay, one more variation on that. You'll clasp your hands and extend the arms completely now. So your hands are interlocked behind you. Your arms are fully extended. Inhale, lift the sternum. Exhale, hinge forward, only halfway or even less. Good. Keep working with the flesh of the upper arms, the shoulder blades moving in. Scoop the abdomen toward the back body for support. Wonderful. So this is part one, getting the shoulders out of the way, creating negative space there. Bring yourself up and just shake the limbs freely. Shake the feet as well. All right, we're going to get into part two, which is the abdomen. And we're going to do one more Uttanasana, this one with the blanket, like an apron. And for the abdomen, I recommend the blanket be thicker. So I'm folding mine in half. When we fold forward, the abdomen tends to push out, it becomes convex. So our work is to think about the abdomen gently moving back. Underside of a jellyfish or an umbrella, think about that. So we want it to be a soft action, not a hard action. And so you're going to place the blanket in a way, and again, the feet are separated, hip distance, that if you have an actual belly roll, you want it coming over the lip of the blanket, not stuffed under there. We're trying to make space there. So you're gonna fold forward, and when you fold forward, bend your knees a little bit. And then your body catches the blanket. You can just dangle the arms, dangle the head. And we're gonna do a practice. This really does require some focus. And every time you breathe in, just do the first couple of breaths without any kind of effort. Just see what happens in your body when you breathe in. You'll feel probably a pushing into that blanket. You'll feel compression. So in our work in forward bends, we're trying to become more compact without feeling squished. So one big area we can feel squished is the abdomen. So take the next 5 breaths and see if you can gently float the abdomen toward the back body, and notice how the back body really feels good when you do that. Just 5 breaths. Again, this is not your deepest forward bend. You keep the knees bent to keep the back happy. We're just trying to get an experience into the body. Good, just 2 more breaths here. Wonderful. And now bend your knees. Help yourself come up to standing. Put the blanket aside. Resting in mountain pose, close your eyes. And maybe take a few breaths, still working with that action in the abdomen. Rather than pushing the abdomen out when you breathe in. Make it a little bit of a depressed area. And notice how the breath is forced up, which expands that chest. It expands the upper back, and it makes us take a deeper breath. It's all good things that happen. Awesome. Okay, moving on. We're still going to focus on the abdomen. We're going to do what are we doing? Prostarita Tanasana. So we're going to use the chair, and it's going to be in front of us. This is going to be a half forward bend, meaning we're going to only keep the torso level with the floor, not into our full deep forward bend. And the chair is going to be so that we can anchor the hands and really work with the abdomen staying moving up. And now we're going to be really challenged because gravity wants the abdomen to fall toward the floor. So just a little more effort on our part to keep that wise action going when we turn up the dial on the amount of challenge. Separate your feet wide. The chair seat will be facing you. It won't be on the mat. You want to be able to push it freely when you start to come into that forward bend. And then just take care of your feet. Make sure you didn't just lose surface area. Try to spread the toe pads, the ball mounds apart. Try to anchor the heels evenly. Straighten your legs. Turn the legs enough that your kneecaps aren't knocked. And then you're going to hinge forward and take your hands onto the edge of the chair. Start to push it forward until you feel like your torso is pretty much level with the floor. So there's a lot we could focus on here, but right now it's the abdomen, okay? One thing I want to say is just like that heart chakra pose, if your shoulders are angry, I have 2 things to offer. One is to move the long arm bones into the shoulder sockets, which can be an action that relieves that tension. Another is to cross your arms and rest your head on your forearms. Because again, this isn't about the shoulders today, right now, it's about the abdomen. So as long as the shoulders are comfortable, we're going to move forward. Every time you breathe in, just notice before you correct. Notice what the body does. And because we're facing gravity the way that we are, the belly really wants to fall toward the floor. So take the next 5 exhales. I meant to say inhales. And think about something soft. I just watched, not a jellyfish, My Friend the Octopus, which is a very liquidy animal. Great movie. So make your abdomen more liquidy, not hardened. And every time you breathe in, spread the abdomen toward the back body. 2 more. Now to safely come out of it, just take the gaze forward. You're going to pull the chair toward you. Walk the feet in, heels and toes, heels and toes. And then help yourself stand up. Come back to mountain, and again, just take a few breaths, seeing if you can soften the abdomen back as you inhale. And then we're going to move into child's pose with support to the abdomen. We're still working with the abdomen. If you own a bolster, you can use that. If you don't, you can roll 2 blankets together. We want to create some sort of support for the front body. And even with a bolster, you might end up adding a little height to it. We're trying to have something really supporting us from the abdomen to the chest, and you're going to be resting your head, your cheek. So the knees are wide, the feet are together. You might need some support between your butt and your feet. And now in a more passive way, we can experience this same action. So once you've set up the child's pose, always take a few moments before you go into those wise actions just to see what your body does naturally. For me, I'm feeling my belly inflate. I'm feeling pressure against my props when I breathe in. So now that I know that, I'm going to start to play with that idea of my breath moving up in my thoracic, up in my shoulder blades, up in my chest, because I'm floating the soft tissue of the belly toward the back body with those in-breaths. Feel how expansive it is to the back body. So forward bending is really about opening back body. Everything in the body moves from front to back except the sternum. Just change to the opposite cheek. This takes focus because we automatically go back to the breathing we always have done passively. So just keep bringing your attention back to those in-breaths and that soft action. It's not forceful, it's not hard. Good. 3 more breaths with this cheek resting. Now you're going to gently find your way up. We'll come into one seated posture. It's going to be our last posture to emphasize the action of the abdomen and forward bend. So we're going to come into Shasana. And you might need a few blankets. You can always use a block to support the bent knee side. So if you run out of blankets, we'll grab something else. But you're going to want one blanket to sit on. We're going to start by bending the right knee side. So you can take your kind of 8 fingers to the inner right knee and drag that inner right knee back until the heel comes way in towards the upper inner thigh. This right knee will probably want some sort of prop if you see it doesn't touch the floor. So that could be a blanket, it could be a block. But if you only have one blanket left over, use a block here because we need an additional blanket over the left thigh. So fold your blanket that's going over your left thigh, fold it in half. So it's a little bit bulky or thick. We want this to be for the abdomen. So we want it to be thick enough that we're going to get the support we need to invite the flesh of the belly to spread back. And then lastly, you're going to want your strap. Because again, we're not trying to grab the foot and come into our deepest forward bend. We want to really be able to feel this action without kind of the strain of being in our deepest peak Shasana. So once you have kind of the rough shape set up, you're going to wrap your hands so that your elbows sit in line with your shoulders. We want the blanket right up to the hip joint so that we can spread the belly over the blanket. Try not to have it trapped under the blanket. And then align your chest with your legs. You have to turn the whole trunk from right to left. Anchor into your right knee. Pull back on your strap to move the shoulder blades in, the chest forward. Take an in-breath. Exhale, come forward until you feel some good contact of your blanket to your abdomen. That's going to be where you stay. And for the next 5 breaths, again, same work. As you inhale, spread the abdomen back. See how you can kind of gain a little distance over the leg. You can start to elongate the torso. You feel also the back body is relieved, the lower back, especially with the support of the front body. A lot of times in forward bends, we get a little bit of a complaining sensation in the low back. And that's because we're not engaging the action of the abdomen, spreading back. And just 3 more inhales. And then using another inhale to help you come up. You can release the foot. You can stand up your right knee and extend the leg. You can flex the feet if the knee needs a little bit of a reset, if it feels a little bit torqued. Flex the feet, really plant those kneecaps in your thighs. And then we're going to do the other side. So you're going to take your 8 fingers to the inner left knee. Try not to have the knee come up super high from the floor. Pull that flesh of the inner thigh kind of out of the way. Move the heel in. And again, propping the knee if you see it's floating. Taking a lap blanket that's going to help you rest the abdomen. And then strapping the foot. We won't worry too much about where the strap is on the foot. Not today. So wrapping the strap around your knuckles so that the elbows and shoulders are in line, the shoulder blades are invited in. Turn yourself, look at your chest relationship to your leg and try to center up the breastbone with the right leg. But go back to that left leg being your anchor. Sit up nice and tall. Inhale. Exhale, come forward. Finding good contact of the blanket into the stomach. And then the rest is just really focused on the in-breaths and what we do with the abdomen. Nice. Last big in-breath. And then your next one you can use to help you sit up. And deconstruct your pose. Make sure you come out of Shasana by standing the knee up and the foot down and extend the leg. Give your legs a little shake. So because on Monday we emphasized a lot with the thighs and the hips, that's going to be our shorter piece today. We're going to do both of those pieces on our backs in Garudasana. So the first piece is going to be the hips. And so we're going to work with a loop in the strap And again, you want to floss it so that you don't have all those twists that we don't like to see. This loop is going to be a little smaller. Not, by smaller, I mean, we're going to the full big loop after this pose. So make a loop that's maybe a couple feet in diameter. And then you're going to come onto your back. And if you need some head support, put a blanket down. So the right hip crease is where we're going first. This is an area that gets collapsed and congested in forward bends. It's another place we can put a little air hole into and create a more spacious experience in these compact poses. So the left foot is going to be stepping into the strap. Take the strap to the bottom of the left foot. And then you're going to take the other end of the strap to your right hip crease. And I recommend it's not the metal rings jamming into your hip crease. So rotate the strap around until you just have strap at the right hip crease. Left leg is extended, right knee is bent, and your right strap is in that crease. And you can either clasp your shin or you can clasp your thigh, right thigh. So it's really helpful to bring a sense of purpose into your left leg here. Really pressing the foot into that strap will also increase the amount of pressure you're receiving into the right hip crease. So yeah, make sure you adjust your strap as needed so that you have enough strap, but we want it to be a taut strap. So without the strap there, that space would really get jammed up. And so what we're doing right now is we're keeping a sense of spaciousness in the hip joint, where we fold, where we crease in our forward bends. I told this story on Monday that a lot of times when I was in my wide standing forward bend in my class with one of my teachers, I would get a really horrible right hip cramp right here where we're addressing with the strap. And my teacher would come and bring a piece of dowel, like a piece of wood, round wood, and she would hold it in that area and create an opening, create a space, and the cramp instantly was gone. So what was happening is I was collapsing there where I needed space. So this is giving us a way to do it without the dowel. It's giving our body an imprint that we can recreate with our own actions. So this is all we're doing with the hip joint today, just this one very modified Uttanasana. So we're going to be switching to the left side. You shouldn't need to adjust your strap a whole lot unless you have big imbalances in your legs, which some of us do. And you're going to extend the right foot into the strap, and the left hip crease now gets the strap there as a spacer, as a little spacer. And just play with the fuller action of the right leg. You really want it extended. You want to really press the foot into the strap, which will bring extra pressure into that area of the hip that we're addressing. Also try to relax your left leg as much as possible. Don't be tense with the leg. You can really soften the leg. Your hands will support under the thigh or over the shin. Yes, you're almost there, Vern. Just take that strap to the front left thigh all the way up to the crease. You might need to expand the loop a little bit. I can't see it, Vern, but it looks like you have the strap running over your front ankle. So take it all the way up to the hip crease. Nice. Just kind of memorizing a feeling, a sensation of spaciousness here. Okay, and now gently release. We're going to go back to the right side, but you're going to need to make your loop bigger. And this is last but not least, we're going to have one experience of the thigh moving from the front body to the back body. So the left foot is taking the strap again. And now the right thigh, and not in the hip crease, is going to be belted, right front thigh. Your leg, you'll see, does not go as close to your torso here. It's because we're really keeping the pose very honest. You're going to hold behind your thigh with your hands and activate your left leg until you feel good pressure of the strap into the right front thigh. So the thighs are considered very bulky, the front thighs. And so we can make space in forward bends, in forward folds, by really moving that bulk to the back of the leg, but not in a way that you're really contracting the front thigh. Think about the back of your thigh absorbing the front of your thigh. Think about your seated Dandasana, where you try to close the gaps between the back of your knee and the floor, the back of the ankle and the floor. Move the whole leg from front to back. Same with your left leg. And now, because this is a little bit more effort, you're not going to hold as long. We're going to switch to the other side, stepping into that loop with your right foot and taking the belt, make sure the metal isn't pressing into your flesh, to some area that's not in the hip crease of the front left thigh. Clasping the back of the thigh with your hands, really activating your right leg, pressing the foot into the strap to create a little bit more pressure of the left thigh front to back. And just 3 or 4 more breaths here. Think about both legs, not just left leg, also right leg. If you're a runner or a biker, you have to do extra work with this because you tend to get bulkier in your front thighs. So one of my favorite poses to address that is hero pose. So you want to do seated hero pose to offset some of that extra bulk we get with those various forms of exercise. Go ahead and soften the left knee. And you can kind of free yourself, get the strap out of your way. Step your feet down to the wide edges of your mat. Hands on your belly. We're just going to kind of wave the legs, windshield wiper the knees side to side. So as your knees fall to the right, let your head fall to the left. So wide feet burn. Take your feet wide. And your knees are together. There. And then let your kind of rock on your feet, let your knees move from side to side. Yeah, there you go. We're just going to take a few moments in a supported bridge pose to neutralize the lower back from all that forward extension. So once you've done a few windshield wipers, you can bring the feet back hip distance. You're going to tuck a block underneath your lower back. I'm using my lowest setting because after this practice, I don't need a lot to get a lot of sensation. I'm going to use my lowest horizontal block under my lower back. Today, my shins are more vertical. My feet aren't walked in super close. And I'm going to keep my feet hip distance. And then I'm just going to unfold my arms so that my palms face up. And I'm trying to walk my elbows in just a little closer so that I have the lift and spread of the chest still. Tuck your chin down toward your chest. Just a little baby back bend before we come into Shavasana. Just a few, we'll stay about a half a minute here. Nothing required, just be passive in your body. You're going to start to self-guide your way into Shavasana when you feel it's time, and also listening for any other movements that the body needs before we come into Shavasana. And then setting yourself up with support. You might want a bolster behind the knees. You might feel cold and want a blanket over you, something over the head or over the eyes. Separate the feet wider than your hips. Let your feet fall out to the sides. Unfold your arms. Try to free the arms of touching the torso. Make sure to rock the head and encourage the back of the neck to become a little closer to the floor. And with your eyes softly closed, look toward your own cheeks. Relaxing the jaw. Sometimes when we release the jaw, it feels like we're smiling a little bit. We know it takes less effort to smile than to frown. Let the whole body begin to smile. It takes effort to curl up and to contract. So we've all had that experience where we're sunning ourselves, maybe on a beach or on some hillside. It's like the whole body starts to smile. The tension we carry is a learned tension. We know this because if you've ever startled a baby, the startle response is actually the baby expands. The baby looks like it's a big old starfish. The arms open, the legs open, the hips open. So it's only over time that we start to contract. Just let your natural setting of expansion return here. Your natural, innate spaciousness. Heart and belly exposed and soft. No effort. Let the body go, let the effort go. Just observe. Taking a back seat. Now let your next few breaths elongate. So take a fuller inhale, a more thorough exhalation. Do so in a way that's not agitating or straining. And when the time is right, resuming the spontaneous breathing. And starting to invite very simple movement into your body. You'll help yourself bend your knees and elbows so that you can find your way to either side of your body. And maybe there the eyes blink open, but not because we're trying to see anything. Keep yourself passive. And you'll pressurize your hands against the floor to help bring yourself up to seated. Coming into this pose we began with, which is good space pose. A pose that's all about space. So we'll join the hands together in front of the heart, extending the fingertips out towards each other. Pull your shoulders back. Let's take a deep inhale through the nose. And exhale. From the place within me that I know to be divine, I honor that place within each of you. Namaste. All right. So I just want to remind everybody, if there's ever a class that resonates for you and you want the recording, I don't charge you again. So you can always have the links to classes. I have a few people that have been requesting classes like that. So it's just, yeah, just reach out if you'd like any class and I'll send you the link. They don't expire either. So, okay, that's all. I'll see you guys soon. Mwah.